So after you have connected your motor to the MakerPi Pico board and tested the connections with the test buttons on the Pi Pico board, you're going to write the code. So this code is going to move the motor 1 in forward direction, reverse direction, and then slow it down, and it'll also make the motor stop. So let's see how to go about that. So the very first thing is import time. Yes, so the very first thing is that you connect your MakerPi board to your computer and write this code on the MakerPi board. So let's connect the MakerPi board to the computer and write the code. So the very first line is import time, and then we import board, and then we import PWM-IO. And remember, we are writing this code in CircuitPython. So the libraries are slightly different here. So we import we import PWM-IO, which is the library for using PWM pins. So the next motor 1 is on GP8 and GP9. So we need to initialize these pins as output pins. So this is the function we use, PWM-IO, PWM-out. So O is in uppercase here, and then board.gp8, and frequency is 1000. And similarly, we declare or we initialize the second pin, that's GP9. So motor 1 uses two pins, GP8 and GP9. To turn the motor on in one direction, we are going to switch GP8 on and switch off GP9. And then to reverse the direction, we are going to switch GP9 on and turn off GP8. So here, this is the initialization for GP9 pin. This is also a PWM pin, and with frequency 1000. Just make sure PWM and PWM and O is in uppercase. All right, I have commented the initialization for motor 2 pins right now because we are only testing motor 1. When it's time to test the motor 2, then you can uncomment these lines. All right, so we have initialized the pins for motor 1 here, GP8 and GP9, and then let's see how to spin this motor. So we control the motor, or we spin the motor with duty cycle. So with this duty cycle, we can control the speed of the motor. The number is we can give a number between 0 and 65,535. That is the maximum speed that your motor can spin on. And to stop the motor, you give duty cycle 0. So now to move the motor in forward direction at a high speed, we are going to give a value of 65,000 for GP8 pin duty cycle, and we give a value of 0 for GP9 pin. And we want it to spin for a second, so we give the sleep duration for a second. So these three lines are going to spin your motor 1 in forward direction. To reverse the direction, we just exchange the values of the pin. So we make GP8 0 and we make GP9 as 65,000. So this is going to reverse the direction, and then we make it go in reverse for 1 second. So this is going to reverse the direction of your motor. To stop the motor, we make both the duty cycles of GP. So we make GP8 0 and we make GP9 also 0. So we make the duty cycle of both the pins as 0. And we want it to stop for a second again. So we give sleep duration as 1. Now to slow down the motor, you can give any duty cycle between 0 and 65,000. Here, I've given the duty cycle as 32,000. So I've made GP8 as 32,000, and again GP9 should be 0 if you wanted to move in forward direction. Now you can try with lower values, but you'll see that at certain lower values, if you make it 10,000, your motor probably will not move because it needs a minimum stall current to move. So you'll see you can experiment with different values, 30, 25, 40, and see how the speed and see the difference in speed. All right. So this is how we slow down the motor. And at the end, it's important that we stop the motor at the end of our code. Otherwise, it'll just go on spinning. If we don't give the duty cycle as 0 for both the pins at the end, and we just stop it and we just leave the code here, you'll see that it goes on spinning, right? So at the end of our code, we make both the duty cycles 0. So yeah, you can write this code and test it. So let's test it now. This is the code. Make sure you save it. Make sure you save it in your CircuitPython drive and not on your computer. So that's my code. And let's run this code. And you'll see it spinning in forward direction and then reverse and then going slow. And then it stops. So that's the test for motor 1. Now you can do the same test for motor 2. So you're going to initialize the pins for motor 2. Motor 2A. Motor 2 uses pins GP10 and GP11. Right, so you're going to initialize these two pins as PWM pins for motor 2, and then you're going to you'll need to write the same lines to move it forward, change the variable to motor 2 variables. So can you make your motor 2 go in forward direction, reverse direction, make it stop, make it go slow? Can you try these things with the motor 2?